welcome to the Titletown Huddle on the gruelingtruth.net.
Welcome to the Titletown Huddle at the gruelingtruth.net, where the legends speak. I am Joe Pritchard, and along with me is Aaron Zepnick. And Aaron, I wish I was wrong last week. I had the Falcons 34-31, and the Falcons won 33-32. Wish I was wrong.
Yeah, I was actually one play away from predicting the score right on. I said 38-33 Packers, and for a while there it was right on schedule, and just couldn't get that one more drive to score another touchdown. So
nope, just a flat last couple minutes out of the Packers this week here, but a lot of excitement before that, a lot of points on the board, and the offense was moving the ball. But you were telling me before the show you had an issue with how they conducted themselves in the second half, so I'll go ahead and let you have the floor on this.
Yeah, I just felt like we kind of acted like we were up by 2 or 3 scores with the way we called plays. It was very conservative. Stopped going with the 5 wides that got us 2 touchdowns earlier in the game. Stopped going with the, getting the guys involved that needed to get involved. Jordy was hot early. Devontae had a lot of touches early, and it just seemed like we were forcing the ball to other guys, or Atlanta adjusted and took those guys away, and we didn't do a good enough job of finding another weapon to use. With no running game for the fact Richard Rodgers, I don't think had many targets. I don't think Ripkowski seemed to be their focal point in the third and fourth quarter at times, and I just disagree with the play calling. I thought it was very conservative, and pardon the French, but I thought it was kind of chicken shit. I just had that feeling like we were playing not to lose instead of playing to win.
Well, it seems like the Packers tip their hand. Whenever they're going to go with a fullback dive out of the I formation on 3rd and 1, you can almost just sit there and go, yep, this is when McCarthy's going to call it. Because either they go 3rd and 1 out of the shotgun, or they go 3rd and 1 out of the I. And if they go out of the I, here comes Ripkowski. And in years past, it was John Kuhn, and fans would love to see John Kuhn get the ball. But I would hate to see that in that situation, because if I know what's coming at home, you've got to imagine the opposing team's defense does too.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, my wife doesn't know a whole lot about football, but she can actually tell you when the Packers are going to run or pass at times. So it's a little bit predictable. And, I'm hoping that we bounce back with a big win this week. So.
Yeah, we could certainly hope so on that front. I'd love to see them get a win this week upcoming against Indianapolis, but we'll get to that game a little bit later. There were some good signs coming out of the Packers, though, this week. They did move the ball pretty well. Aaron Rodgers looked like the Aaron Rodgers that we'd love to see. And he's going all the way down the depth chart and getting everybody involved. We even saw Geronimo Allison pull in a touchdown reception, and with the predictable results on Twitter afterwards, of course, everybody going, Geronimo! But here's hoping that becomes a solid chant in Lambeau Field over the next couple of weeks here.
Absolutely. I think the kid looked good in preseason. I saw him at family night. I liked the way he ran routes and carried himself on the field. So I'm hoping that he'll step up. Trevor Davis had a nice punt return, and also showed some flashes of being able to get open. I thought Rodgers missed him once on a play where he was open deep, but scrambling or whatever, and didn't have the wherewithal to find him. So I think that it is a good sign with Geronimo Allison getting involved, making a little bit of an impact. I'd like to see more. Janis as well. Would have been nice to see a little bit more impact out of Jeff Janis as well. So
now, over the past couple weeks, the Packers have had to run a lot of multiple wide receiver sets because of their running back injuries. They did go ahead and release Niall Davis this week here, so it seems like they're going to stay with a lot of the multiple receiver sets, at least for the upcoming game here against the Colts. Now, it's been working pretty solidly, though, from the second half of the Bears game the week before to this week against Atlanta. Do you think this might have shaken the cobwebs out of what the Packers' offense?
Yeah, again, they have a lot of weapons. It's just learning how to use them and picking their spots to use them. I think that we used Ripkowski too often in critical times. And, you have Aaron Rodgers on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2. I don't understand why we try to run the ball so much when we don't have a running game.
Yeah, he seemed to carry a lot of the running game himself. He seemed to be scrambling out of the pocket quite often and picking up big chunks of yardage on that. So that seemed to be the extent of the Packer running game for the most part. Do you think that they change up what they're going to be doing, just given that they've been so heavy on the pass as of late, or do you think they just stick with what's been working?
I think they stick with what's working. I don't think that you change who you are on offense. I don't think they can.
Right. And
what I would like to see is a little bit
rules. Yeah,
I'd like to see a little bit more aggressiveness on defense with blitz calls and just some stuff that's not so bland. I know Capers is a bend but don't break type guy, and I want to see a corner blitz once in a while. I want to see some linebacker blitzes. I was very disappointed with Blake Martinez play on Sunday. I thought he missed a few tackles and that led to big plays. Jake Ryan is a step behind, it seems like at times. He had one nice tackle for loss on a middle linebacker fire blitz, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more aggressiveness. You don't have your big playmaker in Clay Matthews. You don't have your top 3 corners. I think they got to force their hand a little bit, which is unfortunate. But if you just sit back and let other teams line up against you and be who they are on offense, you're really going to lose the battle sometimes. And that's what happened on Sunday. I just think we need to force the hand a little bit. So.
Yeah, the defense has been picked apart 2 out of the last 3 weeks, and really could have been exposed a lot more, even the week before against the Giants, had the Giants been able to connect on a few of their passes. It seems like, to me, and I'm not nearly the coaching mind that you do, but it seems like anything between the hash marks seems to be, even in between the numbers sometimes, seems to be open game for the other team to hit wide open receivers on. The inside linebackers don't seem to be able to cover enough ground to keep teams out of the middle. How would you adjust if you're seeing your team continue to be beat over the middle? What would you be thinking as a defensive coordinator and how to stop that?
Well, again, the assignments. I go to the touchdown by Mohamed Sanu, where Jake Ryan is covering Mohamed Sanu in the back of the end zone. Doesn't get enough depth, jumps to try to make a play, but because he's out of position, like I think I talked about this earlier this year about, the 4 things that, when I was with the Green Bay Blizzard here, the 4 things that we kind of judged players' performances on and graded them out on was alignment, assignment, technique, and effort. Well, if your alignment and your assignment aren't sure, the other 2 don't matter. You got to start with the alignment and the assignment. And I feel like there's a lot of confusion going on in the linebacking core and the secondary. I don't know if that's just the youth and the lack of the experience, especially with Clay out. But again, you got young linebackers. They need to learn how to get more depth and look for work instead of just covering grass. And I think that's the main thing that they need to work on is guys need to cover a body, not grass.
All right, and let's switch to the other side of the ball here for just a moment. Seeing reports today that J.C. Treader is out for at least a couple weeks, but Corey Lindsey is returning off of the physically unable to perform list. The offensive line has been rather solid over the past few weeks, at least in the passing game. Do you think this changes much, or do you think Lindsey should be able to plug and play here?
Well, and again, I talked to you off air about this, but I think T.J. Lang would be the bigger concern if he's out or hurt at all. I think that when he came out of the game, it was apparent that Don Barclay struggled. I think J.C. Treader's done a fine job this year, don't get me wrong, but, Corey Linsley started last year. He has the game experience. I don't think that's a downgrade. I think it's at least a lateral move, if not an improvement, personally. But, both guys lost their job to injury, basically, and now Linsley's kind of won it back by default as of now. I would think that Linsley's a little bit better run blocker than Treader, just because he went to Ohio State, and I think they've had success running the ball. Although last year we didn't have a very solid run game either, but I think part of that was Eddie Lacy being a little bit out of shape. So, I would think that it would be our offensive line would be the least of our worries right now.
Well, that's rather good news to hear. The receiving corps seems to be doing a lot better lately. Rodgers seems to be snapping into place here. It seems like the offense is going to carry this team as far as it's going to go. Hopefully the defense can snap back in. Now, the NFL trade deadline did pass this week. Were there any moves you were hoping to see, even though Ted Thompson is definitely not the wheeler-dealer type?
I didn't expect any more, honestly. When he made the move for Niall Davis, which you had alluded to earlier, now Niall's been released and signed with the Jets, actually.
And cut by the Jets, too, for that matter.
Now cut again. Poor Niall Davis. I mean, and Kansas City's probably kicking themselves because now Jamal Charles is put on the IR, and Spencer Ware's out with a concussion, I believe. And
I hear Niall Davis is available for them.
So Sharkandrick West is the only running back that I know that's healthy for the Chiefs right now. So they may be trying to get him back. So
yeah, they very well could. Now, the Packers did put Brandon Burks, running back from this preseason, back on the practice squad, so he may very well be an injury replacement down the road as well. So they're still trying to shake and find a way to solidify that position, but we will see as the season wears on how that will all shake down. Well, we'll go ahead and take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about the upcoming game here against the Indianapolis Colts.
Get in the Titletown Huddle with Joe Pritchard and Aaron Zepnick on thegruelingtruth.net.
And welcome back to the Titletown Huddle here at thegruelingtruth.net. Aaron, the Indianapolis Colts, they are coming into town for yet another late start for Packer fans. So Packer fans that love to watch their NFL Red Zone early in the day like I do have to be loving the schedule so far this year. Lots of later games.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, actually. I like the noon game. I like to, wake up in the morning and make my ham and cheese omelet or whatever it may be and watch some NFL Sunday, Fox NFL Sunday, and then get ready for the Packer game right away. The other thing is I don't like watching other teams first. I like to know, hey, we won the game at noon, hopefully, and then we can kind of sit back and enjoy football the rest of the day and breathe easy knowing our team won. So I like the early games myself.
Yeah, I just love that window from about 2:30 to 3:30 on NFL Red Zone, where all the games are ending at the same time, and it's just constant back and forth. you could see how all the close games, in some weeks there were 5 or 6 of them, how they all wrap up within a couple minutes of each other, and you could follow them all as the games are wound down. But that's something I do not do when the Packers are playing in that noon slot. I did grow up, though, with Packers noon, unless they're on the West Coast, so I am quite used to the noon starts as well. But the Colts are coming into town this week, and then the Packers are off on a 3-game road streak, so this is definitely a huge game, especially with Minnesota struggling over the past couple weeks, even dropping one to the Bears on Monday night. I think this is the Packers' opportunity to start making some noise again in the division.
Absolutely, and look, if the Packers' defense is going to get on track, this is the game to do it. The Colts have trouble keeping Andrew Luck upright. They have trouble protecting the quarterback. So, the Packers' run defense is pretty stout still. I think they held Devontae Freeman to 35 yards. Ward had probably a better game as far as yards per carry. It seemed like he was breaking them off once in a while. But Frank Gore coming to town, I really think the Packers will be okay if they can stop the run. And that's always the key to success, playing good defense, stopping the run, and being able to take care of the football and not turning the ball over. If you stop the run and don't turn the ball over, you should win, especially when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So.
Right, and the Colts seem to be nicked up too. They may be missing T.Y. Hilton this week. They're also potentially missing Vontae Davis. They're one of their corners, which will help the Packers in the passing game. It's looking like the Packers are going to have some good matchups against the Colts defense. And the Colts are only at 3-5 this season to begin with, so this is really a game you just do not want to drop when you have that kind of a team coming into your stadium. You really want to get on them early, make yourself feel comfortable, and show the rest of your own division what you can do.
Absolutely. Like you said, Minnesota dropping one of the Bears, that puts them at 2 losses now. Packers have 3. If we come out and get this win, sitting at 5-3, even if Minnesota wins and they're sitting, at 6-2, you want to stay within that one game so that when you play the last game of the year, that means something. Hopefully by then they have about 6 losses and we still have 3 or 4. Minnesota's defense is pretty good, but they're missing Zendejo didn't play against the Bears. I'm not sure if he'll be back or not this week for Minnesota. And also Xavier Rhodes got hurt. So I'm not sure what the status is, but if they're missing their top two of their top secondary guys, you can bet that they're going to be in the same shape that we are as far as defense. Now, I think our offense is much better than Minnesota's, and while their defense may carry them to a few wins, I think our offense can do the same for us. And I think our defense is better than Minnesota's offense. So my theory is we'll still win the division if we can take care of business here in the next 3-4 games. So.
Well, I think they're looking good this week anyway, because the Vikings just lost their offensive coordinator. Norv Turner just resigned today. It kind of seemed like a bolt out of the blue there, but their offense has not been doing very well. And their offensive line in particular has been struggling as of late. Now, another team to watch, though, is the Detroit Lions. They get the Vikings this week in Minnesota. If their offense can come to play against the nicked-up Minnesota Vikings defense, maybe they're a player in the division. It does help if the Packers have the early win over the Lions, but there's, like we're talking about with the Vikings late in the season, the Lions also have a matchup with us late in the season too. So it's going to be an interesting race, especially if the Lions can get back into it, because they do have a potent offense. When they feel like having it, they tend to play a lot of close games. So we'll see. And it seems like Matthew Stafford's trying to pull their fat out of the fire every week. But if they can get on a bit of a roll, they're going to come right with us.
Yeah, I'm selling that one. I don't think Detroit's defense is good enough. Their offense is about as good as ours. They have a lot of weapons at receiver. They have Theo Riddick out of the backfield that can catch some passes. But if Montgomery and Cobb can get back healthy and our offense can stay afloat, I think we're going to be just fine.
All right. Well, a Lions win this week, coupled with a Packers win this week, puts all three teams with 5 wins. The Lions would have 4 losses to the other team's 3. Right now, the Vikings are at 5-2, the Packers are at 4-3, and the Lions at 4-4. So it's starting to get a little bit tight again here in the division, with everybody having lost last week in this division, besides the Bears, who are way down in the basement where they belong.
Absolutely. I think it's a 2-horse race. I know the Detroit Lions are 4-4 right now. I don't expect them to be any better than 8-8 on the season, 9-7 maybe. And I see the Packers at 11-5 or 12-4. So maybe I'm being arrogant or high expectation, but I just think there's so much talent on this team that we haven't even cracked the surface of what we can do yet. And if we can get Randall and Rollins back, I'm not sure what their status is, but I know they're not playing this week. But as soon as those guys come back, I think that'll definitely help our secondary depth.
Well, it all starts with this week. Now, the Colts have given up the 3rd most points in the league, only trailing the winless Cleveland Browns, and they're trailing the Atlanta Falcons, who the Packers just put 32 points up against by 1 point as well. So this is another defense that the Packers should be able to exploit. Now the Colts have scored 208 points, which is more than the Packers have scored this year. So this may be another shootout, but this is definitely a game the Packers are going to have as they keep going throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I don't think the Colts will outscore the Packers. Especially if T.Y. Hilton doesn't play. I know they're getting Dante Moncrief back, who is a superb young receiver. I had the privilege of coaching his first cousin. Jamie Bender played safety for the Green Bay Blizzard for us and tried out with the Packers. I think it all comes down to stopping Frank Gore, though. And if we can stop the running game and get to the quarterback, I think we'll have a successful day.
All right, so let's go ahead and put these into predictions here. Do you have a score for me?
I'm going to say 31-23 Packers.
All right. Now, I was even thinking a little bit higher. I'm thinking the Packers will put up 35. The Colts, with their injuries and with coming into Lambeau, I could see the Colts only putting up 17 or so, but that's going to depend on the Packers making a couple of big plays to make stops, stand the drives here. So I'll go 35-17, but I'm not feeling too confident about the 17 part of it.
Yeah, and look, it could get ugly. It could be a 45-17 type game if the Packers execute and score as much as their potential. But expecting them to put up 30 to 40 points every game, I think, is a little bit of a far cry. I would think 31-17, 31-23, with the Colts getting a late garbage touchdown to make it close and something like that. And who knows? Maybe it'll be one of those complete games we finally play. And we beat them by more than 1 or 2 scores. It'd be nice to not have to bite the nails this week.
Yeah, they're going to need one, though, because they're going to have 3 road games against teams that are at 500 or better over the next 3 weeks. Then they'll be at home against the Texans and Seahawks, who both have their flaws as well, but both have solid units as well. The only team the Packers have left with a losing record at this point, I believe, is the Bears. Let's see, the Seahawks, the Seahawks are above 500, the Texans are above 500. The next 3 are Tennessee, who's at 500, the Eagles, and the Redskins. So it's not going to be an easy road for the rest of the season.
No, and I don't think there's really an easy road in the NFL anymore, unless you have Cleveland and Miami and Tampa Bay maybe on your schedule, along with Chicago we get to play them twice. But, even the AFC West is solid this year. 3 of the teams have 2 losses, and the Chargers are sitting there at 3-5, and they've actually lost some close games where they had big leads. You look at the AFC North with Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati are all capable winning teams, and there's just not a lot of weak little sisters anymore. There's not that gimme win on your schedule, and I'm sure Minnesota thought Chicago was that, and look what happened. The parity is there. Free agency, in this free agency era, it's gotten more and more to where anybody can be beat on any given Sunday. So.
Yeah, put it this way: we're at or close to the halfway point for every team in the league. There's only 2 teams with only 1 loss, and that's New England and Dallas. And there are only 2 teams with fewer than 2 wins, and that's Cleveland, who hasn't won 1 yet, and San Francisco at 1-6. So everybody else has at least 2 wins and at least 2 losses at this point of the season. So I'm just taking a glance at the standings right now, brief overview, and I see a lot of 3-4 and a lot of 4-3.
Absolutely, and a lot of the prognosticators this year, the total number of correct picks is down as well from years past. I think that's just because anybody can be beat, anybody can be tied, and anybody can lose on any given week.
Yeah, we've seen another tie this past week, and almost have to think the NFL might have to figure out what to do about that. Seems like they broke what they had going for them. But let's go ahead and wrap this show up here. Any final thoughts this week?
No, I just hope we can get healthy and peak at the right time. That's the big thing is you don't have to be the best team to start the year. You don't have to be the best team in the middle of the year. All you got to do is get hot at the right time. Like, a lot of people allude to 2010. 6th seed beat Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons in the playoffs as a 1 seed. And we played Jay Cutler, Michael Vick as well that year. But I think this NFC, other than Dallas right now, I would say is wide open. I think Dallas is the dominant team. Coming into our house, beating us by 2 touchdowns. They have a great offensive line, great running game. Dak Prescott's making just enough plays, and the defense is making just enough stops. So Dallas with 1 loss, I think, is the clear-cut, playoff lock. But they're one injury away too, So it is what it is, and we'll see what happens. That's why they play the games, right?
Yep, that's sometimes all it takes in this league is one thing going your way or one ball bouncing the wrong way on you. But that'll do it for this week's Titletown Huddle. You've been listening to the Titletown Huddle at thegruelingtruth.net, where the legends speak.
Thank you for listening to the Titletown Huddle on thegruelingtruth.net.